Oh, hello and welcome once again. J76NY here. And we're back with Anton, Rayne, and Swordlin. The only thing we really have to do is read a couple news articles right now. Religious Harmony Bill signed. The Religious Harmony Bill proposed by Kizaru Keebner has been signed into law by President Anton Rayne after the approval of the Grand National Assembly by majority vote. The new bill aims to create religious harmony by restricting the languages for religious sermons to Swordish. The article says, Rayne attacks the holy day of dissension. President Rayne has recently approved the outrageous Religious Harmony Bill, limiting the freedoms of Bludish people in Swordlin. Out of all the points of the bill, one stands out the most. Day of Dissension has a special importance for the Bludish people. It has been customarily held in Bludish language for 100 years. In the Arch Sanctuary of Dire, Mr. Rayne's latest law will destroy and limit this tradition to insert Swordish identity in place of Bludish identity. It is not hard to see the potential consequences. It is, after all, Swordlin, not Blood land. So whatever. Have a phone call here. I was sipping my first cup of coffee for the day when the phone lit up and rang. I swore under my breath I hoped my schedule was clear for at least half an hour. Picked up the phone. It was Mr. Gus Manger, Minister of Rural Development. Mr. President, how are you doing on this fine day, if I may ask? What is it? I'm calling you because I received a call from the CEO of Armadine Industries, Aaron Bridges, about the recent initial public offering on the Ventry City Stock Exchange. As you might have guessed, it's about our little venture investment of 1,000 shares worth nearly 1 million Ren. I'm very pleased to say that we've made gains. Shares have doubled in price at the IPO in the VCSE, and we will soon receive the profits made from the investment. Isn't that great? Go on. You'll love it. Total, we've made nearly 2 million Swordish Ren. Wow. That's right now. I bet that right now you were wishing you had bought more stocks earlier, right? Darn it, yes I do. I assure you, this will pale in comparison to what we will do together in the future. The money will be transferred to your personal bank account shortly. Talk to you later, then. Goodbye for now. The line dropped. Oh, wow, we just got rich. Personal wealth is now 3. That's outstanding. Matches our economy. What do we have here? Armadine stocks jumped to nearly double. Good news. Else, private party of the Gentlemen's Club. Briefing on the status of immigration regulations. We'll do the immigration regulations here. We're in the middle of a meeting in the palace about our immigration policy. The ensuing discussion quickly became heated. I don't think so, Mr. Wissy. Just doesn't make any sense to me that a foreign citizen should come before a Swordish citizen in Swordlin. Well said. My analysis is also in line with this, especially during the economic recession. We are giving Swordish jobs to migrants from other countries. What about our own people? Immigrants are the reason our economy is not completely unsalvageable, says our Minister of Foreign Affairs. Look at Agnolian immigrants in Agland. They have revitalized the whole region and in turn boosted the economy of the entire country. Simon can attest to that. Statistically speaking, allowing immigrants to become part of the workforce contributes to our economy, but I agree that the current situation is very nuanced. With that said, we can't just tighten our immigration policy and expect the economy to stay the same. We need to put our economy and the recession at the forefront. Gentlemen, can we please get back on topic? Right, sorry. As I was just saying before I was interrupted, look at the superpowers. Do you see them closing off their borders? Why do you think their economies are in such good shape? They are in their current state because they welcome immigration and use it to their advantage. We need to modernize and reach the level of superpowers. I agree that we need to consider the economic impact of immigration, and sort of citizens must come first. Exactly. Our citizens should never feel threatened by foreigners. We need a decision before we move on. Mr. President, do you have any questions about the current state of immigration? I have 4 questions. 3, actually. What's the current legal status of immigrants? Currently, all accepted immigrants are given a work permit on arrival so that they can work and contribute to the economy of Swordland. There is currently no limit on the number of immigrants accepted. However, the number has remained stable over the past years. Despite the laws, the fact is many immigrants illegally work for corporations. That is the main issue with immigration right now, not the immigration itself. Nonsense. Not for the unlimited amount of immigrants, we wouldn't be in this state. How many? Official numbers show that we have anywhere between 2 and 3 million immigrants residing in Swordland. A lot. Even excluding the countless undocumented aliens in our midst, that's a very substantial amount. Primary issue is the strife they cause between less fortunate Sworded citizens and themselves. Including them in the workforce would benefit everybody, including unemployed swords. More taxes means more services. How do they get here? There are 3 major paths they choose. The first one is the Agland to Agnolia border. The second is Bergia to Wayland border. And the third is the Lauren coast. Agnolians are the largest group. The light border over there, although recently political fugitives from Volgsland have been crossing the Gray Sea by boat to land on our coast. Wonder why they all want to come here. Politically persecuted Wesek refugees tend to use the dangerous mountain passes at the Wayland border. Many of them also have Blutish blood. Let's move on. David opened his dossier stamped with the seal of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade. Before we make any decisions, I have to remind you, during the elections we promised to tighten immigration laws. Of course, as you know, I was and still am against this. I agree with David. We can turn immigration to our advantage from a financial standpoint. Advantage, you should go over the amount of disadvantages caused by immigrants. I can provide you with a report later. Believe me, it would surprise you. We need to keep our promises and focus on our own citizens. That is what I think. David sighed wearily. This is going nowhere. If we decide to tighten immigration, what does that entail? Would have to impose quotas and connected to that stricter border control, on top of allowing our economy to take a hit. Mr. Hull, surely the well-being of our citizens and our internal security will more than compensate for any downturn in the markets. Agreed. Sworded citizens should take priority. What are the consequences of keeping our immigration policy relaxed? Aside from keeping us on the path to prosperity, modernity, and continuous improvement, not much. The current system is good for our era. We also have the capacity. This will allow us to continue protecting investments from foreign countries, which in turn will keep our trade steady. We would be more trustworthy partners. Stability draws money. Stability? What stability? We're already seeing clashes between our people and foreign interlopers. On the contrary, the only way we can achieve stability is through tightening our immigration policy. You heard the lady, Swordland first. I tend to agree, and it was one of our campaign promises. And fuck the balloons. So, everyone lean forward, eager to hear my response. They do make good points about making money off the immigrants. Plus, it would help us in our trade. But I don't really want to piss off Lancia. And it was part of our campaign promise. And we are having problems with the Blues. Granted, I might have caused a lot of those problems, but we're having problems with them nonetheless, so I'm going to tighten our immigration policy. This is unfortunate to see Swordland move in this direction. but I trust you have good intentions. I'll move ahead with the implementation. This has the chance to affect our trade negotiations with Agnolia negatively. They expect us to respect the flow of people. Indeed, it will be a challenge to convince these countries as they see our borders close. Not only that, we've already slighted Wayland in the past. Might see this as a return to the 30s, which will definitely affect our negotiations. I wouldn't worry about that too much. With how Wayland is dealing with the bluish terrorists, I would argue that President Smolak would beg us to tighten our immigration. With that said, I don't fancy Wayland as a partner since they are as reliable as a flopping fish out of water. I'm against isolation. It's the wrong path. This is not about isolating Swordland, but protecting it. We can't let internal policy be decided by foreigners. Swordland always comes first. I already made my decision. Let's stop debating it. Anything else that needs to be said? I want everyone here to get used to the new changes. This is our new direction. Well said, Anton. This is Anton's work. Just live in it. Ministers gathered their documents and rose from their chairs, some with frowns on their face. Looking forward to the upcoming trade talks. Peter and I have been visiting Stallport and Rockclout, that place in preparation. I'll be coming along to talk with the economy minister, looking forward to the potential partnership. We're finished. I need to head off and get the ministry to work on the new policy. Same here. Our border units need to be informed and prepared. Yes, we're finished. And they left. All right. A lot to look at. Here. Oh, the private party at Peter's Gentleman's. A lot of newspaper articles. Well, I guess we got to get our work out of the way before we go on with the goofy ass vice president. Report from the Ministry of Interior. Ministry of Interior reports that the restructuring of the ministry has been complete with success after the increase in its budget. According to the report, some portion of the budget was transferred specifically to local police forces that are fighting against organized crime in northern Swordland. The ministry reports that the two major business rings of the two crime families, Coronelli and Skinner, have been shut down and several high-ranking members have been arrested. The mob is under our heel now, apparently. Vesord police have organized a raid early in the morning to an abandoned building in the city of Vesord under suspicion of hiding Red Youth members inside. Successful raid arrested 8 militants, 2 military-grade assault rifles, and bomb-making equipment. Very good. Very good. Editor of Radical is suspected of helping terrorists. Oh, boy. Nordish intelligence report that John Dandern, a famous journalist and columnist at the Radical, is suspected to be working for the terrorist organization Red Youth. Not a surprise. According to the report, Dandern has continuously published anti-government articles and repeatedly attempted to report on state secrets countless times. Moreover, he has publicly endorsed Red Youth in the past. Okay? So the Radical, obviously, not on our side. Maybe we could go after him. I don't know if that's anything here. The regional governor lifted the lockdown that was being imposed on the city of Dyer after the operations of the Swordfish police force against the Bluish terrorists were completed. Police reports that more than 100 terrorists were killed and 28,500 people were detained for supporting or working with the terrorists. The operations of the Workers' Party of Bludia is reported to be eliminated in the city. Sweet. Tourist workers on strike. Uh-oh. Small group of construction workers recruited by Taurus Holdings to work on the L1 railway project are striking out near the construction site in Gelsort. Workers complained about their payments as well as lack of safety regulations. Didn't that workers' rights bill that I signed help that out? One worker in contact with Swordland today insists that the group has not been paid for any of their work for the past month. Despite complaining to Taurus Holdings supervisors, the workers said that the situation has persisted. They say the project budget is not enough. They are not interested in us. The complaints soon turned into a strike, which made the construction come to a stop. According to our sources, officials from the Taurus Holding have promised to deliver the project much cheaper than its actual cost. Uh-oh. State continues its war. Earlier today, Jonah Gasmich, one of the leaders of the Red Youth, was arrested on his way to Benfey. Police said he was planning to escape Swordland with the help of cargo ships from the port of Benfey to Ravenose Island. Following his arrest, a group of militants fired at patrolling officers in the city of Volglin. Dire in ruins as lockdown lifted. Bludish and Swordish civilians of Dire returned to widespread destruction after weeks of fighting between the Swordish security forces and the BFF. Let's see. As Dire slowly returns to normal life among rebels, many of its Bludish people will surely have a difficult time making peace with the government for the atrocities committed against their political movement. A huge step backwards in ending the recession. The isolationist policies of President Rayne are burying us deeper into the mud that is called the recession, with the latest changes towards tighter immigration. One of the main reasons behind Mr. Rayne's election was to entrust him with the responsibility to end the election and tighten immigration. Let's not forget about that. Trade works with trust, and isolationist countries can't bear trust from any of other. Swordland tightens up immigration. Series of latest policy changes enacted by President Rayne to tighten the immigration has caused condemning responses from the international community, with the exception of Wayland. Maybe we have a friend in Wayland. Who can say? We have to change our thoughts on who we want to trade with. Prime Minister of Agnolia has given a statement on television saying both Agnolia and the Swordish people will be the ones to suffer from this unfortunate decision. On the other hand, President of Wayland, Victor Smolak, has given a different kind of response, saying it's great to see our good neighbor Swordland step up to its greatness once more. All right. Now it's time to go to Petr Vecturn's party. This ought to be fun. Apart from being accustomed to my workload as president, I only felt more and more snowed under as the weeks passed. It had been ages since I had any time to myself. I was starting to lose my focus and my temper was growing increasingly thin. Peter was the first to realize I needed a break. After much cajoling, he finally persuaded me to come to a meeting of his new venture, Gentleman's Club. For the past few months, he's been hosting a salon of sorts. Not just for politicians and businessmen, but also for artists, entertainers, people of taste, he told me with a smile on his face. There was only one rule: no wives or girlfriends allowed, hence the name. And so I found myself in front of his new luxury villa in Erloy. Very loud jazz music emanated from inside. I waited and waited. Finally, Peter opened the door and I could smell the whiskey on his breath. Anton, finally, come in, relax, take a break from this crisis. As soon as I entered, Peter closed the door and turned to the small crowd. Gentlemen, a minute of your time, please. I now have the privilege to present to you the man himself, the fourth president of Swordland, Mr. Anton Rayne. I'd known him for long enough to understand that he was more than a little drunk. Made an elaborate mock curtsy as I passed him and walked into the room. The music stopped and I felt everyone's eyes on me. And I present to you Petr Vecturn, the first alcoholic vice president of Swordland. My joke didn't sit well with Peter nor the crowd. There was a short, awkward silence before he continued. Oh, you gotta love some of these choices. Dear members, please give a warm welcome to our very special guest. If I may, Anton, here, take this. He handed me a glass of whiskey and put his hand on my shoulder. We all know why we're gathered here tonight, to celebrate life, to have a brief escape from our tumultuous professions. I personally don't know any better cure for stress than a little drink. Raise your glass. I'll drink to that. People in the crowd laughed and raised their glasses. Now, the tradition dictates that as club president, I have to remind you of our house rules. There are 3. No politics, no wives, no one sober. Cheers! Peter drank the whiskey in his glass in one go. Drain your glass. I followed suit and drained my glass. It was immediately replenished. Anton Rayne might have the power to make presidential decree, but I, Petr Vecturn, the president of this club, now declare this party started. Music, go. Band started up again. After greeting the crowd around me, I felt a hand on my shoulder. Let me show you around. We walked through the corridors of his mansion. Statues and paintings lined the stark white walls. An arched window provided a view of the neatly manicured grounds, complete with a swimming pool. Grand lesbian marble staircase led up to the second story. Peter gestured at the massive crystal chandelier hanging overhead. Chandelier was made in the 18th century. Can you believe it? There's even a hedge maze in the garden. What's the story behind the chandelier? Here. How are you paying for all this? I'll let you in on a secret. Gus Manger has a lot of contacts in real estate. Brokered a good deal for me. He'll also be here tonight. I can introduce you if you like. Would you promise him in return? Only my money. We continued walking until we circled back to where we had started. What do you think of my little hideaway? Not bad at all, Peter. Good job. Thanks. You know that you, Monica, and the kids are always welcome here. Anyway, let's get back to the party. I arranged for some caviar to be brought in from Lesbia. You're going to love it. He opened the door to the main hall and we rejoined the other guests. The music was louder now and the mood decidedly more inebriated. Cocktail waitresses were carrying around plates of canapes, wearing dresses that left little to the imagination. Alright, Oh, now this is a loaded choice right here. Let's see what happens. She was in her mid-20s wearing red lipstick, her blonde hair neatly tied into a ponytail. On her plate were toast points slathered in lesbian caviar Peter had mentioned. I took a bite. It was rich, salty, tasting of pure seaside. I could almost hear the sound of the waves and the seagulls. Lesbian caviar, best in the world, I'm telling you, Anton. There are few pleasures in life that are this. As the waitress left us to serve another attendee, she flashed a quick smile at Peter over her shoulder. He smiled back a little too broadly. Perv. Sensual. Perv. His eyes were still fixated on her, with an expression I remembered from our many nights out together as students. Oh look, there's Gus. Why don't you have a talk with him? I'll be back shortly. Where are you going? Oh, just to the washroom. I'll be back before you know it. He left the room and I headed over to Gus. Gus Manger was standing next to a couple of men that I recognized as banking industry magnates. As I approached, all of them turned to me and bowed their heads. President, a toast to our new member, everyone. Gus and I clinked our glasses as the people around us raised theirs. You don't seem at all surprised to see me here. How long have you been a member? And that one. Since the beginning. A fun gathering and quite lucrative at times. You might have heard from Peter that I arranged the deal for this mansion. He also told me that you might be interested in potential opportunities as well. This. He opened his arms, gesturing at our opulent surroundings. Let's take a walk. The balcony has an amazing view of Erloy. We left the room and made our way to the balcony. On the way, he took out 2 cigars and held one out for me. I'll take it. We went out to the balcony. All of Erloy was at our feet. From this vantage point, I was able to see how expansive the building plot was. The swimming pool and the hedge maze were visible from here. Leaning over the railing, I admired the view for a moment before Gus spoke up. I know you've been wondering about the deal Peter made. In a nutshell, thanks to my network, he was able to procure this house for half the asking price, which would have been impossible under any other circumstance. I would be delighted to discuss a similar arrangement with you. In fact, I have prepared a document with my own personal favorite opportunities. Always a good salesman, always prepared. This is the least I can do, since you have been generous to many business people in this country. I'm not looking to make any investment at this moment. What's in it for you? I'm glad my investment decision paid off. And thank you. Here's to investments paying off, then. He downed his whiskey. Let's talk about the details. Gus opened his briefcase and pulled out a thin dossier. He showed it to me. My first offer is, of course, real estate. There's a vineyard close to Erloy, about 1 hour drive from here, that also includes a very large villa. Beautiful plot, but rather neglected, so there would be a fair amount of renovation cost. On the bright side, you would be able to produce your own wine. Previous owner was Geralt of Ribery, world-renowned vintner. Okay. There's also the option of a football partnership. I already own a large portion of Anrica FC, and I'm doing my best to make them champions. Buying in would be more expensive than the vineyard, but the season will bring a lot of returns, I'm quite positive. Give me the word and I will start the procurement process. But we must act quickly, as these options might soon disappear off the market. Go with the football. Excellent. I will start the process right away. So I'm now part owner of a football team, apparently. Now, if you'll excuse me, Mr. President. I left to rejoin the party. Alone on the balcony, I looked over Erloy. Suddenly, I heard rustling from the hedge maze below. I looked down and saw a silhouette. 2 silhouettes, actually, so close together they seemed to be entangled. I squinted and tried to get a better look. It was definitely 2 people kissing, but I couldn't see either of their faces. I returned to the party and spent some time mingling with the other guests, engaging them in small talk about their business, their children, their relationships. Around an hour later, Peter showed up next to me. Yeah, I told you I'd be back before you knew it. Is that you in the hedge maze? Blunt. What are you talking about? I told you I went to the washroom. I saw 2 people kissing in the hedge maze. Horny kitchen staff, eh? What do I even pay them for? Right, the kitchen staff. Speaking of which, want a drink? Because I do. He poured us 2 large glasses of whiskey, and we drank them in one go. Throughout the party, we drank and drank, just like old times. Woke up the next day with a pounding headache and more than a few regrets. My memories of the evening were hazy, but there was one important detail that kept coming back to me. The red lipstick on Peter's collar. Maybe my memory was playing tricks on me. Personal wealth decreased by 2, but I'm now part owner of a football team. It's cool, yes. What's next? Ooh, the opening of the Benfey Festival. That'll be fun. Yeah, I think I'm going to end it there. Why not? Be a little bit of a shorter episode, but it was a fun one. we'll go to the Benfey Festival next and take care of all this other stuff. Anyway, if you guys like the episode, hit the like button. It will help the channel and series out with the good old YouTube algorithm a little bit. If you want to follow along through the rest of our debag playthrough on Suzerain, hit the subscribe. And put your thoughts, tips, and advice in the comment section down below. A76NY saying thank you very much for watching and have yourself a very good day.